More dramatic breaking news today in Virginia's capital, where the number 2 and number 3 state officials are now engulfed in political firestorms alongside the state's governor. The state's lieutenant governor, Justin Fairfax, changing his tone after being accused of sexual assault by a woman in 2004. He now says women deserve to be heard and says it's essential that survivors of sexual assault tell their stories. He is, though, maintaining that his encounter with the woman 15 years ago was consensual, and he says he has absolutely nothing to hide. Meanwhile, as that plays out, the state's Attorney General, Mark Herring, revealing that he, like the state's governor, appeared in blackface while in college. In a statement released just moments ago, Democrat Herring writes, "In 1980, when I was a 19-year-old undergraduate in college, some friends suggested we attend a party dressed like rappers we listened to at the time. We dressed up and put on wigs and brown makeup. This was a one-time occurrence, and I accept full responsibility for my conduct. It was really a minimization of both people of color and a minimization of a horrific history I knew well even then." He goes on to say he's deeply sorry for the pain he is now causing with this revelation. CNN's Ryan Nobles is following these developments. He joins us live. Ryan, as if there wasn't enough, what now?
Yeah, John, this is unbelievable. We had first heard a rumor about this potential situation with blackface regarding the Attorney General yesterday morning and have been chasing it for the last 24 hours. The Attorney General just releasing a dramatic statement where he admits to being at a party dressed as a rapper in brown makeup. Now, we also know that the Attorney General, in an attempt to try and stave off the criticism that may come to this, did meet with the Legislative Black Caucus to inform them of this situation. And of course, this comes after the backdrop of 2 other scandals that are rocking Virginia's capital with the 2 other statewide elected officials. The Lieutenant Governor, Justin Fairfax, as you mentioned, is facing accusations of a sexual assault charge that go back to 2004. And of course, the governor, Ralph Northam, facing accusations or the release of a photo that appeared in his medical school yearbook, which shows someone in blackface and another person in a KKK outfit. The governor says he's not one of those people in the photo, but it did appear on his medical school yearbook. Now, the problem with all of this, John, is that all 3 men have yet to say that they're going anywhere, despite calls for resignation from the governor, a lot of heat put on the lieutenant governor, and now this new emerging situation with the Attorney General. Basically, the entire state capitol is in a state of chaos. But just to quickly pivot back to how the lieutenant governor is handling all of this, we know that over the past couple of days, behind closed doors, the lieutenant governor has been forcefully encouraging Democratic leaders here to stay by his side. In fact, we know that he went into an expletive-laden rant attacking his accusers about this current situation. That could be part of the reason why you see him softening his tone right now with a new statement saying that we need to hear from the accusers and have this process play out. The sum total of all this, John, is that there is a good chance that despite all 3 of these huge scandals, that nobody here leaves their current office and they all stay in power for the balance of their term. John?
Wow. Okay, Ryan Nobles, new questions today. Remarkable. People dug in. Appreciate it, Ryan. Come back to us if there's any other developments. It is stunning in the sense that you have had top Democrats. I don't mean leave the Republicans out to be disrespectful of the Republicans, but this is a Democratic problem at the moment. You have a Democratic governor, Democratic lieutenant governor, now Democratic attorney general, the top 3 officials constitutionally in the state, all dealing with these problems. The calls for the governor to resign still stand. Questions about the lieutenant governor are on the table. He's trying to clear those up. Now you have the attorney general, where people the other day were saying, well, if this is really a doozy and we have to lose the governor and the lieutenant governor, we have the attorney general. Number 4 would be the Republican House Speaker of the state of Virginia. So the politics of that, this will be a conversation about politics and principle, but the politics of that will tell you the Democrats are going to dig in, right?
Well, no question. And I think it does. And I think their silence is a little surprising in some respects, because they, of course, were very loud and vocal, Democrats were, about the Kavanaugh situation, slightly quieter about the lieutenant governor here. So we'll see how their reaction to the attorney general's think this. But, the only thing that quiets people more here, usually in Washington politics, is when they're worried about someone from the other side winning over here. So this is developing. The reason it matters nationally, the reason this is an important thing, Virginia is a key state, but it also is a moment of is one party going to be hypocritical or not here? So I think that's why we're watching this. And we still have not heard from a lot of leaders in the Democratic Party, including former President Barack Obama.
And the standard laid out by the top Democrats in Virginia, echoed by a lot of the top Democrats in Washington, including Democrats running for president, is, okay, you might be a good person, you may have been a good person the last 25 years of your life, it's just inexcusable. It's inexcusable, it's insensitive, it's reprehensible. You cannot be in a position of leadership if you did this in your 20s, in the case of the governor. The Attorney General says he was 19. How do they move that standard? They laid it out pretty clearly over the weekend.
It's zero tolerance from Democrats. And the big reason that they feel like it has to be zero tolerance is because they want clean hands if they're going to be targeting President Trump on either issues of race or some kind of sexual misconduct. And so they feel like they have to be pretty pure on this issue. All the national Democrats are aligned. But I mean, to the point Ryan made there at the end, that is pretty unbelievable to think that all three of these men think that they are going to stay in their jobs. How, even if they do that, how productive can they be in their jobs going forward? What would essentially be the point of them staying in right now?
And in a year where it's less relevant to our national audience, but in the state of Virginia, there are legislative elections in which the Democrats think they can flip a chamber, and they continue a path where Virginia a decade ago was a red state. It moved to a purple state. Now it's considered a pretty blue state, although it's still, you mentioned, still in play. So you have the governor who acknowledges appearing in blackface, mimicking Michael Jackson. Now you have the Attorney General acknowledging appearing in blackface, mimicking a rapper, going to a party. And then you have the lieutenant governor who is accused. He changed his statement. He did lash out. He was quite emotional the other day, suggesting other political opponents were leaking this information, questioning why his accuser was coming forward again because she came forward during one of the campaigns, talked to the Washington Post. They could not corroborate, so there was no story. Today's statement seems to try to take a step back to a calmer place, if that's the right word. While this allegation has been both surprising and hurtful, I also recognize that no one makes charges of this kind lightly, and I take it in this situation very seriously. I would like to encourage the media, my supporters, and others to treat both the woman who made this allegation and my family with respect. I wish her no harm or humiliation, nor do I seek to denigrate her or diminish her voice. But I cannot agree with a description of events that I know is not true. That is a much more calmer place than the lieutenant governor was 72 hours or so ago.
Absolutely, and it's also at odds from what some of the reporting is about how he has responded to this privately, and it speaks to what the reaction to that may have been, and the fact that as Ryan said, that it appears, if you read that statement, that he thinks that it's possible that if he tiptoes back and sort of makes a more conciliatory statement, he might actually be able to hang on to his job. The thing that is amazing here is that this is all unfolding in Virginia, which of course was the site of the marches in Charlottesville, which got President Trump into so much hot water in his first year in office when he made statements that were seen as insufficiently condemning white supremacy, neo-Nazis, and now you have a bunch of a couple of Democratic elected officials who are admitting to having appeared in blackface. After the outrage that was expressed by about President Trump's behavior, it's really hard for Democrats to go back and say that this is, any better, somehow different. They're obviously in lower positions, but this is a state where the history of racism and these issues is just, woven into the fabric, and it's a very painful thing. And it's just stunning to believe that you could have two officials that high up who would actually think that they're in a position to hang on to their jobs there,
and in a position to think that they should not have done something to get out ahead of this.
Right.
Just the arrogance of that.
Yeah,
the arrogance timing of that it happened. You saw Charlottesville, you see the national debate, in your party, you see the state debate in your state, and you don't raise your hand and say, it's something I need to talk to you about. That the part is what makes the arrogance of it, makes it stunning.